If you were pretty ambitious, but the dangerous part is the competition, because it's still illegal. Now you say, I can imagine this. You say, all right, I'll go find a dealer, and you say, you know what, I want to buy a lot more. And then you go, you know what, I'm going to put you on to someone else then. But that's going to be a risk. So as soon as you start buying a lot and trying to then become a seller or dealer, now you risk, violating somebody's territory. And if you don't pay them a cut, you're going to get either beaten up or worse. So that's the problem with it being illegal.
Well, you're also facing the difficulty of if you get caught with a whole bunch of drugs, the presumption is that you're intending to traffic in those drugs. Whereas a private user may just want to buy the same way you buy at Costco, and you buy, 64 rolls of toilet paper at a time, you get a better price.
Yeah. Well, so the decriminalization really is only for the small-time user-consumer. It's not for the dealer. They've not politically palatable, apparently, to let dealers off.
No.
So they're still doing the hard time. Well, it's unfortunate, but I think California is going to lead the way on this one. We'll see. This bill that Tom Mamiano is bringing up is to essentially make, it's not a bill. Or is it a bill? Yes, it's a bill. It's not an initiative. So I don't know if it has a chance to pass. I think many Democrats are scared to vote and to look like they're hippies, so they don't want to vote for things like this. But the bill essentially makes marijuana like alcohol. Treats it like alcohol. It says basically legalizes it and allows it to be regulated and not allowed for minors to have it. Same rules that apply to alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what kind of chance it has. Probably not much, but at least it's being raised up. I mean, one of what makes it attractive is that they estimate that just in California it would net over $1 billion in tax revenue if they taxed it at something like $50 an ounce, and I don't know what the per ounce street cost is. But I think I saw that they were thinking of taxing at $50 an ounce. So, yeah, I could see that there'd be attractive. That was actually in 1933 was the main impetus for passing the amendment, constitutional amendment to allow alcohol to be sold again, because in 1919 prohibition they passed an amendment to make alcohol illegal nationwide in 1919. Of course, then the huge businesses by Al Capone and other mafia kingpins, basically corrupted all the major cities, and there was no stopping it. And the corruption ran so deep that they just said, "Oh, forget it. It's better to." And then it looked like they could tax it and make all millions of dollars, and they did. And that was the main reason for changing the amendment back to where alcohol was legal again. So we might be in a situation like that. I think there's more downside on this economic downturn. We just heard today that the real loss in growth since the beginning of 2008 was almost 2% of economic growth of loss after so many years of positive growth. So,
but it was only down 0.1% this last month.
Yeah, and
so that's a slower drop than analysts have projected, and therefore some of the news agencies are now reporting the recession might be coming to an end.
That's on what perspective you're coming from. My personal opinion on that is that there's a lot more downside, because when inflation hits, and this is just historical, data that I'm looking at, it usually kind of goes over a cliff. It doesn't really go gradually up. It kind of comes all in within a year or two. And the last inflationary attack happened in 73, 74, or 75 time frame. And that was an accumulation of many, many years of, Fed putting interest rates low, trying to stimulate the economy, and other factors that had to do with a lot of regulation. But the Federal Reserve is the real reason that there's an inflationary threat. So we're going to, I think, see, because we've had so many years of low interest rates, that a lot of that money that's been pumped out into the economy by the Fed is eventually going to cause a run on the dollar. And that's where you get an inflationary spike.
Yes.
Is when the foreign governments kind of lose confidence in the dollar. There's been noises made by some of the foreign financial ministers that they are losing confidence in the dollar. So a run by...
All the more reason why we should legalize the prostitution and legalize marijuana and tax it and help our economy.
Yeah, why have artificial barriers to, just these moralistic barriers that, have to do with regulating consensual behavior. Unfortunately, Obama in general, I think, is making a big power grab across all industries, and being very... did you see that he's been running a commercial? It really pissed me off today about telling fathers how to be fathers. Play catch with your kid. Give them a compliment. Ask them how their day was. How condescending is that?
Quite.
That's something you tell your...
On the other hand, if you just remind somebody something that they already know, that little reminder could have an effect on millions of father and son relationships in a single day. And to that extent, I think that the comments are worth it, despite the condescension.
Well, I think it's not a bad thing in and of itself. But what I'm reading into it is a paternalism. It's a nanny kind of attitude toward the general public.
Yes, it is.
I appreciate your insight. So let's stay on the story and see what emerges from the House of Representatives next week.
Sounds good, Joey.
Excellent. Okay, well, until next time, we'll find some juicy stories, and everybody, hold on to those liberties, because there's some people yanking them away. And I will talk to you next week, Greg. Thanks very much.
All right, Joey.
Okay. Bye-bye.